Welcome to the Broker Growth Accelerator, where we discuss how real estate brokers can accelerate their growth by improving their agent recruiting and retention. I'm your host, Jim Turner, and today we'll discuss growth tactics with our special guest, who is a subject matter expert in the industry. Let's get started. Hi there, my name is Jim Turner and I'm the CEO and co-founder here at Brokerkit, and I'm going to be your host today. Today on the show, we're super excited to have Ille van Engelen, who's the VP of National Recruiting at HomeSmart. Ille, welcome to the Broker Growth Accelerator.
Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. So let's just start out with some background. Like, how long have you been in the business and how did you get into real estate recruiting?
Yeah, I've been in the business now almost 2 years. I started out in manufacturing, and as a manufacturing salesperson, I grew to a regional sales manager position. And when I kind of reached my plateau there, I started looking elsewhere. And with recruiting, I ended up being recruited by HomeSmart to become their East Coast regional manager. And within a year, I had the opportunity to become the VP and oversee the East and the West Coast.
Awesome. So maybe just describe your role there at HomeSmart, and then just how recruiting works in general at HomeSmart between, what you're doing, kind of the corporate offices, franchises, and all of that.
The way we recruit is very similar to other businesses, brokerages around the industry. We really focus on a lot of reach out, a lot of cold calling, and just promoting the business as it is. And my role within HomeSmart is that I oversee the East and the West Coast. We have 12 recruiters across the country that each have their own territories. So we have 12 corporate markets, and we also have franchise markets. The franchise markets are pretty much in every state. There's a one or two remaining where we're not active. And I mainly oversee the franchise recruiters. We have two managers that oversee them. And then on the franchise side, I'm more of the person who shares the knowledge and shares best practices and really work with the franchisees on how they can grow their brand and how they can grow their business as a whole.
Okay, great. Yeah. So thanks for the background there. So just looking at HomeSmart, how many agents does HomeSmart have now, and where does the business want to be 12 months from now?
Yeah, it's a great question. We right now have a little over 26,000 agents. We're about 26,500. We started in 2000 with one agent. So in the past 20 plus years, we've grown tremendously. We're right now the largest 100% commission brokerage company in the country. And our goal is really to hit that 50,000 mark. I think that's more of a 3 to 5 year plan, especially with the way the market is right now. I think we have to adjust our goals accordingly as we're seeing people taking their time to make the right decision on switching a brokerage. We're seeing more people going inactive with the way the market is right now. There's not that much inventory. There's high rates out there. Due to the low inventory, there's obviously the prices are still stable or going up. So it's quite challenging out there. But the goal is to be around that 50,000 agent mark here in the next 3 to 5 years.
That's some excellent growth that you guys have seen there at HomeSmart, and certainly the comp plan's part of it. But what sets HomeSmart apart from other brokerages, and how do you explain the value proposition of HomeSmart to the agents you're trying to recruit?
Yeah, it's another good question. The value proposition for HomeSmart is the 100% commission structure. So in every market where we're active in the corporate side, you have a monthly fee that varies between $25 and $50, deciding on where you are, and then a $300 to $400 transaction fee. So we strongly believe that the agent does the work, and therefore they should keep all their money, or at least most of it. And a thing that Matt Widows really focused on when he started the company was the technology side of things. So we offer very extensive technology where you can upload your closings, your listings. You have your own website. And besides that, obviously, broker support. The broker support is extremely important. Whether you're a new agent, whether you're an experienced agent, you will always need broker support at some point. And lastly, we are brick and mortar as well. So for the low fee of 25 to 50 bucks, depending on where you are, you're going to have technology, you're going to have support, and you have access to offices. So in our in Phoenix, which is our largest market, the Scottsdale area, we have 12 offices that people can access 24/7. And in our other corporate markets, we have several locations as well. So we're set up as a cloud-based company, but you can still very much use the brick and mortar offices as well.
Okay. And so, what is your ideal agent profile? And there's probably not one, there's maybe several, but like what are the ideal agents for HomeSmart? And, what are the attributes you look for that kind of like align with those personas?
Yeah, there is a wide variety of agents that we look for. I mean, we hire anyone in the game essentially, as long as they have a clean record. But the perfect agent for HomeSmart is an agent that has about 7 to 12 transactions. These are agents that don't require a whole lot of hand holding. They bring in enough business for themselves that they will cap out at our plan, and they're usually not doing enough transactions at the traditional brokerages. So really, that 7 to 12, that's our sweet spot where I think in our business model you can gain the most benefits. Having that said, we're also perfectly set up for new agents, newly licensees, because we have a mentorship program. We have classes that people can attend on a weekly basis. Some markets have them in person. For the entire national market, we have them online. And then obviously for your top producers, we have quite a few hedge funds that are also signed up with HomeSmart. And you save so much money. There's so much money saved, whether you do 10 transactions or 100. So it really is a good fit for any agent.
Okay. And so where do you find sources of leads for those personas? You mentioned experienced and new agents. Like what sources do you leverage to kind of find those ideal agents?
Yeah, the two resources that we use the most one is Realytics. It's a system where you can filter out through every MLS that you sign up for. So here you can fill out the data you're looking for, the transactions in the last 12 months, their net gross, everything you need to know about them. So that's number one. And number two is the marketing. We have a pretty large marketing team at HomeSmart, and we really focus on growing that and expanding that actually in Q4 and next year. So we have more of a warm welcome when we reach out to these agents. Because Realytics is great. It really provides us with a lot of info, but it's still very much a cold call. And that is, it's becoming more and more difficult in this market to reach out cold to prospects.
And then what about new agents? Do you leverage relationships with real estate schools, state licensees, any of that? Like, how do you find kind of new agents to add to your kind of marketing campaigns?
Yeah, we're signed up with most of the large real estate schools in the country, and some markets we have a stronger relationship than others. But yeah, it's really important that you're kind of the first one in when there's new licensees. There is quite a few restrictions to real estate schools. They're pretty strong on making sure that they're not recruited too heavily during the process. So we really make sure that we seize opportunities by hosting events for newly licensed agents where we bring speakers, very successful HomeSmart agents, and kind of have more of a soft sale on that side where we show our value rather than trying to recruit them too heavily.
And then what about, another source that we hear a lot about would be referrals from your own agents. How does that work in HomeSmart? Are there, referral bonuses or commissions, whether they be at the corporate or franchise level? Like, how does that work? And do y'all see kind of much traction out of that?
Yeah, actually, I would say 50% of the people that we hire are referrals, and we hire about 4,000 to 4,500 agents a year. And the referral program that we recently launched, actually 3 weeks ago, is that if you bring on one agent, you'll receive $250 in stock credit. And if you refer 3 or more agents that have done 2 or more transactions in the past 12 months, we'll waive your entire dues for 2024. So we're really bringing more of an incentive to refer agents into HomeSmart. And then to kind of clarify the stock option that people can earn or agents can earn, we're still a privately held company. But in the situation, like a liquidation event, if we would go into the market, launch an IPO, or if Matt Widows decide to sell the company, our agents can actually cash out on those stock options or credits.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting, less common incentive there. Okay, so let's just talk about now. You've got the ideal agent. You know who they are. What's the process with starting a conversation with them and getting them interested in maybe coming in for an appointment to discuss more?
Yeah, it's a really wide variety of ways you have to approach this, especially nowadays. There's so much competition out there, and there's so many recruiters that reach out to agents that it's quite hard to rise from all the clutter that's out there. So we really focus on trying to make a personal connection with an agent. We have a cross sell list, and the cross sell list is a list where we have HomeSmart agents that did a transaction with an outside brokerage agent. So there's a little bit more of a connection there. And on the other side, we really try to focus on calling, emailing, social media, and make sure that, one way or the other, we can make a connection. When we have that connection, we don't necessarily try to focus so much on what we offer. We first trying to figure out what is it that the agent is looking for. Most people, like 80 to 90% of the calls, if not more, people are like, hey, I'm not interested. We really got to get to the point where we find out, okay, what are some of your pain points? How can we educate you, whether it's not with HomeSmart, maybe it's with another brokerage. So we really go more for the educational route. And that way our recruiters who are essentially the first impression that an agent may have with HomeSmart is really to show the service and how smart the recruiters are in educating their prospects.
And then when you start that conversation, set an appointment, is that typically going to be you're having that conversation on the phone, but then you're asking them to come into one of the offices for like an actual kind of formal appointment with the local broker? Is that how that would work?
No, we actually keep our brokers out of the recruiting cycle as much as needed, because we have so many agents. Our brokers are quite busy as it is. But when an agent is interested in talking to the broker, they're more than welcome, and we will connect them with the broker. What we see across the board is that people are not necessarily as interested in seeing the offices or meeting face to face. They're really just interested in how can I grow my business? What do you guys offer in training? And what is what's in it for me? So that's really what we focus on. We focus on, okay, we have classes for business development. The market is tough. So we really focus on, making those connections through the phone, through Zoom. If they want to come in for an appointment, they're more than welcome. But it's really, it's kind of a rarity nowadays that we have walk-ins or people really wanting an appointment.
Okay, interesting. So closing online. So where is this team then? Are they virtual and they're calling into, across the US basically, but then virtually and then closing via Zoom, and then they just, the onboarding is when they would show up in the office? Is that how that would work?
They don't even have to show up in the office for the onboarding. Everything is done virtually, but our team is local to every market. So we have recruiters that, for example, in Phoenix, they're at the headquarters. Our headquarters is in Scottsdale, Arizona. So all our recruiters are actually in the office. So if they want to meet, they're more than welcome to visit. And we also have a few people that are working from home that are virtual. But we do make sure that all of our recruiters are close to a local branch, so they can be in market as much as possible. Because also with networking events and just events in general, it's the best to see people. You can look people in the eyes and just see what they're working with. That works the best.
And so when you get them on that Zoom call, what's the most common objections and how do you how do you handle those objections and close them on a Zoom session typically?
We have a couple. I'm sure there's many objections that people run into. One objection right now that we're running into a lot is providing leads. We as HomeSmart, we don't provide leads. We do have the option to provide leads through a Zillow or through an Opcity, but we do educate our prospects on the fact like, hey, you can get leads, but you still pay 30 to 50% of a commission to that lead company. And the real question is how much quality is in these leads? Isn't it much more beneficial to you as a small business owner to learn how to create building your own pipeline? Another one that we run into, and it's kind of funny, is also brand awareness. We are the largest. We're number 6 right now, or 6 or 7 in the country, size-wise. But still, a lot of people have not heard from us. We're really battling against the KWs, the Compass, the Coldwell Bankers. So we really have to make sure that we do a lot with brand awareness. Brand awareness is so important for a real estate agent, even though they have to do it themselves. Having a strong brand behind you that people actually recognize is very important. So that is something that we're really working on across the board, is to really work on the brand awareness and make people proud to be part of HomeSmart.
Sure. So you have the benefit of kind of looking across, the whole US, lots of regions, some probably working super well, others less well, overall, obviously HomeSmart's doing really well. In the areas that seem like they're really crushing it, versus the ones that aren't, what's different? Like, because, you're in an interesting position where you can kind of see, across the board and see that. What are some of the patterns you see of kind of what's working super well and what's not, and then what's different about those areas?
Every market is different. There is not really one market where something works perfectly and the other market it doesn't. It's really tricky. It really has to do with also the competition in a market. In certain markets, there's a lot more 100% commission brokerages. So, for example, in Florida, there's a ton of 100% commission brokerages that promise a lot, put a lot of money into offering their agents the world. And the question is, like, how long will these people be around? Because obviously on a 100% commission structure, there's not that much of an earning potential for the brokerage itself. So that is one thing that we're seeing per local market, is that we have a lot of competition with the 100% commission brokerages. And then also in the markets where we start greenfield, like a Florida, a Texas, where we didn't necessarily acquire a company and we start from scratch, is that brand awareness. People are a little bit more hesitant to join a smaller brokerage. They're questioning, like, is this legit? Once they really do their research and once they understand who we are, it becomes a lot easier of a sale. But those are really the big hurdles.
So that's really interesting. I hadn't thought about that. So it is a relatively newer model, the 100% commission model, flat fee brokerage versus the kind of more traditional split model, where, it sounds like Florida is one area, but like what parts of the country is that more common and you're seeing kind of more growth in versus, other states where it's still predominantly the more typical traditional brokerage split type model?
Yeah, so Florida is one of them. Texas is a pretty popular one too. We're seeing it in Colorado more and more. And then some of the East Coast states, your Virginias, your Pennsylvanias, that's where they're growing a lot. And the tricky thing is that people are also way more nickel and diming nowadays. So they're really trying to see, okay, where can we save the most money? So we used to be the cheapest one out there. And nowadays we're running into comments where we're like, oh, you guys are quite expensive, even though we're still very cheap, especially for what we offer. So it's an interesting conversation. And that's kind of where the educational side comes back, where we're like, okay, like, what are you actually getting for paying $10 a month versus paying $25 for us? And those are conversations that are really important to have. Whether you hire the person or not, it is important that we also make sure that we keep the industry as well educated as possible.
Okay, I mean that's most of my questions around recruiting. Maybe just I guess more on a personal level. Looking back at your former self, when you were getting started, it looks like you were a college athlete. By the way, I'm curious about that. Maybe touch on that. When you were graduating college and what you were thinking then versus what you're thinking now. What do you wish you knew then that you know now? That would have progressed you to where you are sooner.
Yeah, that's a good question. So yeah, I when I was 20 years old, I moved from the Netherlands in Europe to play tennis at Ohio State. Ohio State was or is one of the top programs in the country for tennis and other sports, and they really focused on hard work and yeah, just keeping your head down and work as hard as you can. I think looking back at myself, I think that patience is a really important aspect. Also in sales, there's obviously a lot of goals and a lot of pressure to perform, but I think that it's really important to be patient and have a good plan of attack, and making sure that you do everything the right way. And as long as you're consistent and you have a good plan and you know what you're talking about and you're knowledgeable, I think that's when where you can go a very long way.
And since you're the Division One athlete, I'll kind of hit you up on that too. So I have a friend who basically is, leads a fairly large sales organization, and they said one of their kind of hacks they look for people that were in sports at a very high level, and they tend to be they do very well in sales roles. I've found that myself. So I had in the past somebody that worked for me that was the captain of a D1 soccer team at IU, Indiana University. And then our head of customer success, Michael, he was a D1 lacrosse player and then ended up as a coach too. And, since I'm talking to you, what do you think of that theory? I've found in that, kind of my friend has said, people with that kind of profile tend to be highly, highly competitive and thrive in sales oriented roles. But since you are one, I thought I would run that by you and see what you think.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's two elements to sales, and one side you have to be very competitive, and on the other side you also have to be very humble because you're going to get a lot of no's, and
Right.
it's important that you also can connect with people. It's really good to be competitive, but it's also really important to understand the people you're talking to, because having no, especially when I started out in manufacturing sales, I would come in guns blazing. I knew we had a really good factory that I was representing, one of the largest in the world, but people didn't really care. So I was like, man, how is this possible? I have all this value to add, and or what am I missing? And that's when I really started focusing more on relationship building and yeah, and diving a little deeper in yeah, there's more to it than being competitive. So I think showing up every day, whether it's sports, whether it's for your family, whether it's for your job, is extremely important, and just giving your best effort. And yeah, athletes, especially D1, well, actually every athlete at whatever level, they have a high sense of accountability, or at least they should. So I think that is really important to have in a sales job, but in any job, is to be accountable and show up. Truly care about what you do, believe in the product that you sell, and if you do that, you'll be one step ahead of the competition.
Yeah, and just taking tennis, I can think of maybe like one example. John McEnroe played at a very high level, but maybe not super humble, and maybe a little less with building rapport. So not all athletes, but
True, but you also now tennis is an interesting one because it's obviously an individual sport. So you are your own team. So whatever you do, it's not going to affect anyone else unless you start to
right.
get heavily fined. You can't pay your your employees anymore. But if you look at a sports team, a quarterback, or just an important captain on the team, if they're going to be selfish and they don't share or follow the plays that a coach has designed for them, or or a salesperson that is getting everything he needs to be successful, but he still decides to go on his own route, that person is not going to be successful. So it's really important to look at I think that the team effort and how people are in a team, because it's impossible to do things by yourself. You have to work together.
Sure. And maybe that hack works better with team sports at the
Yeah.
Division One level. Good insight. So I think that covers most of my questions for today. I mean, the last question would be just, where can our listeners find you online if they'd like to kind of reach out?
Yeah, I'll be on. I'm on LinkedIn, Ille van Engelen. You can message me there, or you can use my work email, ivanengelen@hsmove.com. I'm always interested to talk to people. I'm always more than happy to help where I can. And yeah, I love to learn. So I really enjoy actually listening to some of the podcasts that you had. And it's always good to listen to other people because there's so many different ways. I always say there's not a silver bullet in recruiting because there's so many different approaches. So I think it's really important that you learn and try to listen to other people as much as you can.
100%. So, Ille, thanks so much for joining us today. And thanks to all of our listeners out there who've listened to this podcast. Now, think through what he said. Think about, maybe some of the successes Ille, but also HomeSmart are seeing with, their value prop and how their, their go-to-market strategy around that. And think about how you can put some of those things into practice today. And we look forward to talking to you again on another podcast soon. So please hit subscribe if you haven't yet. And, you can listen to future sessions. Thanks so much and have a great day.